So let me give you some examples of how double effect would work. First of all, and I don't know why pregnant women examples work well with this, but they do, so that's what I'm going to use. The first example, you have a pregnant woman, and she goes in to see her doctor, and the doctor says, I have some bad news, I have some good news, and I have some bad news. And the woman said, well, what is it? And the doctor said, well, the bad news is you have a really aggressive form of cancer, and if it's not treated, it's going to kill you and your unborn child. The woman said, well, what's the good news? And the doctor said, the good news is we have a treatment that has a very high probability of saving your life. And she said, what's the bad news? And the doctor said, unfortunately, this treatment will be so hard on your system that even though it will kill the cancer, it will also kill your unborn child. And so if you plug this into double effect, the intention is the woman is trying for right number one, self-preservation. In order to preserve her own life, however, an unintended side effect of the cure is it's going to terminate someone else's self-preservation. It's going to violate someone else's right number one. May she proceed? Yes, because it's a serious enough situation. This woman wants the child. She's not killing the child as a means to an end to her own well-being. She's simply trying to save her own life, but in order to save her life, the unintended consequence is it will cost the life of her unborn child. Now let me give you another example of how double effect doesn't work. In this case, another pregnant woman, but this time it's a tubal pregnancy. And this woman comes in and the doctor says, you know, I have some bad news. Your zygote of this baby you've been trying for has implanted itself in your ovarian tubes, and it's growing there, and if we don't remove it, not only will your unborn child or the fetus die, but it will kill you as well. Now, with double effect theory, the woman is not ethically allowed to move this fetus or this zygote because it's a direct means to an end. It's taking a life to save her own life. It's not an unintended side effect, it's the direct means by which to preserve her own life is taking the life of this zygote. Now you might be able to work an angle from the zygote has forfeited its right to life because it has threatened the life of its mother, but it's kind of hard to see it as, it's certainly not an intentional threat. The zygote didn't mean to do it, but you might be able to work some sort of forfeiture angle if you wanted to have this tubal pregnancy resolved without the death of the mother. And finally, let me give you one more example to hopefully clarify how double effect works or doesn't work. Say you have, it's prom night, or prom's coming up in, say, 8 weeks, and you have this teenage girl, she's pregnant, she really wants to go to prom, but she has horrible acne. And she goes to her doctor, and the doctor says, oh, I have some good news. We have this treatment for acne, and it will have you cleared up by the time of the prom. Unfortunately, the side effect of taking Accutane or this powerful acne medicine is that it would permanently deform or disfigure her unborn child. Does double effect work here? Her intention isn't to deform the child. Her intention is to be having a clear complexion so she can go out and socialize, which is one of her rights. Well, it doesn't fulfill the last part of double effect with, is this a serious enough situation? In the first example, where it's the life of the mother at stake, it is serious enough. Here, so you can socialize for one evening and not be made fun of because you're acne, and the consequence is a life of deformity and non-sociability by your unborn child, well, that's hardly a sufficient, seriously enough reason. So I hope that gives you the point on how the 4 rights work and how the 2 qualifiers work, forfeiture and double effect. So with natural law theory, let's plug in some some modern day ethical dilemmas and see how it works. First of all, let's take maybe something like the idea of war. How would a natural law theorist deal with war? Well, it would prohibit you being the aggressor. It would prohibit you taking away someone else's rights to life, procreation, education, socialization. But if you were attacked or invaded, the enemy would forfeit its right to those very same things. So natural law theory would justify a sort of a just war theory, where you were fighting in the defense of yourself or perhaps someone else who could not defend themselves. How about capital punishment? Once again, capital punishment would fall under, well, what is the capital punishment for? If it's for taking another life, well then yes, the person has forfeited their life, and capital punishment would be an ethical or just decision. What about homosexuality? Well, for the homosexual, they're violating principle number 2, procreation, since procreation is not possible within a homosexual union. And so for this reason, homosexuality would not be allowed. But neither would birth control. And birth control would also not be allowed, because it would be violating this second right. Also, celibacy would not be allowed, which is curious because Thomas Aquinas, as far as I know, was a celibate priest, Roman Catholic priest. But you could see how perhaps double effect was worked to justify this. And he may not have even wanted to be celibate. He wanted to be a minister of God. And in that time and place in his culture, and even to this day in the Catholic Church, if you want to be a priest, then part of being a priest is to be celibate. And so his idea was maybe not even just self-preservation in this life, but in the life to come. And part of doing that and the self-preservation of others meant that he had to put aside the right to procreation as he dedicated himself fully to God and to God's people.